I'm Jane Rudolph.
And I'm Monsignor Charles Minor.
I'm Father Joe Glass. Welcome to Reel to Reel.
Is this going to be our turkey week?
I think so. But Father Joe said we are what we eat, so I don't know if that's all very good time to talk about
Maybe
that.
not this week. We won't. There's an exception to every
We used
rule.
to have kind of a thing in our family. We'd have beef because we were butcher's children, so we had to eat turkeys my father couldn't sell.
Isn't Thanksgiving a great holiday?
really
I
is.
really like Thanksgiving. I do. It doesn't have all that commercialism, and it's just a time to get together and to celebrate family and relationships, and I like it.
And it brings us right into Advent. And in fact, when you think about Advent, a lot of times novenas are part of our devotions. We're going to take you to Scranton, where over 12,000 people attend a novena every year.
We also want you to meet Father Jerry Bracken again. He has a special viewpoint for us, and it kind of balances, I think that's the right word, the things that Joe Swope will tell us on his Arts Review.
Sister Ann Fulwiler is with us. She's the Director for Religious of the Diocese of Trenton. She's here to explain the new National Retirement Fund for Religious.
And when you think of retirement fund for religious, you've got to think of all the things that people have done for us in public life, private life, institutional life, as service. And certainly sisters have given us service.
Sure, and service to the church is an important part of all of our lives. And sometimes you wonder, well, how can I serve the church? Well, we're going to find out, especially where a permanent deacon is involved, how he can serve the church in so many new ways.
Deacon John Kinder regularly assists at morning masses at Wakeman St. Mary's Catholic Church. But here at St. Mary's Parish Center, John is the pastoral administrator of this 260-family parish, a job once strictly reserved for priests. A religious sister previously administered the parish. John is one of a few deacons in this country to take charge of a parish.
They were a little bit more in favor of going with a deacon at this time because they felt that they may have been missing something during this time period of using Sister. She did a fine job and so forth, but she was not able to do a lot of the sacramental ministries that I can do as a deacon. And they felt that that was necessary, that it was something that they were missing in that time period between Father and then. So they seemed to lean in our direction based upon that capability.
Morning masses are held 2 days a week. On those days when no priest is available, Deacon Kinder still brings the gospel to his people.
We do offer on a daily basis a communion service, which I call paraliturgy, because we use the liturgy of the word of the day and then a communion service with time of reflection, so that we're able to be open to the receiving of our Lord and still hearing his word, which is part of what we need to be aware of as his people. I think a majority of them really feel that it is worthwhile. Nothing replaces the Mass for any of us. But I think that knowing that we have to sort of substitute to some extent because of need, this comes fairly close in that of substitution and still being able to receive the body of Christ. They are able to still hear the word, reflect upon the word, and then receive and share with the Lord.
In addition to the paraliturgies, Deacon John also takes part in the weekday and weekend masses.
I assist as the deacon of the Mass for those liturgies. To be present to the people, first of all, so that they know that I do care and that I'm interested in what's going on. I am also, I guess, very much in tune with sharing with my Lord as well. And so I find it comforting to be with him at that particular time and to be sharing with the people at the same time.
And Deacon John says the people are the key to his ministry at Wakeman St. Mary's.
The importance of being here is to be able to be available to the people, to serve them in whatever capacities they need, whether it be because of injury or illnesses or death, or even the good times in making something work within the parish.
But the pastoral administrator knows he cannot run the parish by himself. Deacon John relies heavily on the parish council and often meets with council members.
The parish council is probably my greatest resource within the parish level of trying to determine what are the needs, the goals, the potentials of our people. And I find that it is through their input that we are able to come up with answers. Now, not all the answers can be exactly as each and every individual want to work with, but at least we can come to a total consensus of what we can do parish-wise. And it also gives me an idea of where they are spiritually in a lot of cases, so that I'm able to add to or build in certain areas.
Deacon John lives at the parish center along with his wife Judy and 3 of his 5 children. Judy is John's supportive arm, and she's also very involved in the parish.
Being the wife of a pastoral administrator, I feel like it's part of my responsibility to always be available, to be around when people need me, to make myself open to the ladies of the community, to keep my house welcoming for them, where they can feel that they can come in whenever they like. That was part of when we first came here, they weren't sure that they would still be able to come in here as the parish center, and we've tried to make them understand that it's still their parish center and they're still welcome here anytime.
Deacon John and his family made some sacrifices so he could become pastoral administrator at St. Mary's. But John says the benefits of his ministry far outweigh any sacrifices.
I think that I have gained a lot more,
And as soon as it's done,
much more than I have ever given to God or to my family or whatever. I feel that the experiences that I have gained, the love that I have felt from other people has been the love of God coming to me. And yes, I feel that that has been probably the most important goodness which really has touched my life over all the times that I can remember.
Administration is a difficult and tricky task in the church, and when it's done well, the faith of the people is certainly enhanced. And when it is done well, so is the faith of the administrator.
And we want you to stay with us tonight because we're going to be doing very well with the golden years. Stay with us.
Since 1981, Reel to Reel has been proclaiming the good news by bringing you stories of Christian faith in action. We do it by roaming the Delaware Valley, searching for people of faith, hope, and charity.
But like all modern media, it is an expensive proposition. If you're a new viewer or if you've enjoyed Reel to Reel for many years, we'd like to thank you for watching and invite you to participate by actively supporting the show.
With costs rising all around us, we need your financial support. A donation of $5, $10, $20, or whatever you can send will help to keep us on the air.
Send your contributions to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, PA 19103. And thank you.
Hello, I'm Gary Maddox. When I played with the Phillies, reading the pitcher gave me the advantage. But life is not a game. To give yourself the advantage, you have to be able to read. To get the help you need, call the Mayor's Commission on Literacy at 686-8652. Learn to read. It will change your life.
A new national program will be coming soon to churches all across America. It is called the Retirement Fund for Religious, and the program will begin the weekend of December 10th and 11th. Here with us today to explain the Retirement Fund for Religious is Sister Ann Fulwiler, Director for Religious of the Diocese of Trenton. Sister, welcome to Reel to Reel.
Thank you, Father.
This is a new program, this Retirement Fund for Religious, and
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what it is.
Well, the Retirement Fund is a restricted fund, and it was initiated by the National Council of Bishops, by the Major Superiors of Men, and by LCWR, which is the Leadership Conference of Women Religious. And its purpose is to help alleviate the tremendous liability that these congregations have for retirement. That is, for the retirement of their older people in existence now, not for those coming up. for those who are 70 and older.
So this was started by really three main groups in the church.
Yes.
How did it come to be?
Well, back in about 1981, it became evident to many different congregations in the United States that they were in trouble as far as finances for retirement. And slowly the information was gathered, and by 1985 they had fairly accurate statistics to show two very serious things. One, that the membership of religious congregations are living longer than most Americans. And in fact, women religious live longer than most American women. And secondly, that for religious over 70 years of age, there was little or no retirement benefits available. So these two facts, the aging population and the lack of retirement funds, has created an enormous retirement liability for the congregations of men and of women in the United States. In fact, this survey, which was done by a reputable and well-known accounting firm, revealed to us that even if we were to sell all of our assets, if we were to liquidate, we would still be $2.9 billion short of what is needed for the retirement of our elderly members.
Even with selling buildings?
All saleable material.
My gosh,
Yes.
it is
Yes,
really
it is tremendous.
a crisis. What are some of the figures? Sister, I know I'm putting you on the spot. Do you have some of them at your fingertips? What does it cost, I guess, in terms of dollars to support a retired religious?
Well, from the national survey that we did, we found that for the men religious, and they're much smaller in number than the women, it costs a little over $10,000, about $10,600. For women religious, there are many, many more of them, it costs about $9,600. So we'd say an average of $10,000 a year to support a member who is 70 years of age or older. Now, to offset that a wee bit, the Social Security benefits that the congregations bought into in order to help themselves, excuse me, it gives an average of about $2,000 per person per year. So right away we have a gap of $8,000 per person.
Yes, indeed.
And well, what has been happening since, well, let's go back to 1966 or 1968. The low stipends that religious received, for example, as a high school teacher with a master's degree, I received less than $100 a month, which was $1,000 a year. That was no problem to religious congregations of either men or women at that time, because that was part of our generosity, of our desire to help the church and to help the people. But we also had a very large earning base. We had large numbers. And so long as the Catholic population was increasing and vocations were increasing, we were not in trouble. But as you know, 20 years later, there's a 39% dwindling or drop in the memberships. And so now we have a triangle in reverse. We have across the top a large number of retired. We have a good group here in the middle, and then we're down to practically a point. And that's, to illustrate, that's the critical point. We need help.
Well, the help we hope is coming in the form of this retirement fund. Now explain for our viewers how this is going to work. What has been established in the church? Is this a one-time collection that will take place on the 10th and 11th of December, or what is the game plan?
Well, we believe in miracles, so if we were to get $3 billion, it would be over. But no, the bishops decided a year ago this month, 1987, they voted unanimously to begin a 10-year nationwide appeal for funds to help the retirement liability existing in religious congregations. So it will be for 10 years unless we reach the maximum before that time, unless the problem is solved by then.
So we hope it is less than 10 years. But
That's
even
right.
setting it up as an annual campaign for a 10-year span does show the seriousness of the situation.
Even though, you know, in this country we talk about billions of dollars rather loosely, we still don't really understand, at least as a religious, understand what $3 billion is. It's a tremendous amount of money.
Yeah. Sister, I thank you for being here, and I thank you for taking the time to explain the retirement fund. And it will be beginning once again December 10th and 11th in churches all across our nation. For more information about the retirement fund or how you can be of assistance, please call us at TVR, and that number will be given later in the program. And now back to you, Monsignor and Jane.
We hope everyone makes the choice to go ahead and support the retirement fund. And that leads us to our next viewpoint, because there are many times in our lives when we are faced with many choices, but very often the choice isn't easy.
The women and men religious certainly have made great choices in our regard, and the idea of choice is something we went through in the country in our recent elections. In Viewpoint, we talk about choices. Father Jerry Bracken has some very interesting things to tell us about choices. For you see, when we do make choices, they do tend to separate us.
This past week, you and I went to the polls to elect a president. And if you were like me, you must have found it a very difficult thing to do. Who was the right one to vote for? Now, even as Catholic Christians, we had a difficulty. Because in 1974, the bishops came out and condemned capital punishment in the United States. And yet, one of the candidates was in favor of capital punishment. But also in 1974, in giving testimony before a Senate subcommittee, the bishops came out against abortion and asked that an amendment be passed prohibiting it. Yet the other candidate was in favor of funding abortions for the poor. Now, should we be condemned because we voted for the man who was in favor of capital punishment? Or should we be condemned because we voted for the man who was in favor of abortion? We know we shouldn't be, but why? And I think Paul VI, when he wrote an encyclical called On the Coming 80th, gives us some good reasons. First of all, he says, when we're entering into public affairs, we have to cooperate with other people to accomplish good. That means we have to be vigilant so that we don't do anything that is opposed to right principles. Well, what about the voting? Capital punishment is opposed to principles, so is abortion. Did we do wrong? No. What he says is that Christians of honest and sincere convictions can be opposed to one another in a concrete instance. Why? Well, they can be for the right thing, but they want to accomplish it in different ways. For instance, the person says, I want to protect life, therefore I'm going to vote for the man who is opposed to abortion. Another person can say, I want to protect life too. I'm going to vote for the one who, even though he's in favor of funding abortions, is against meeting violence with violence and capital punishment, or in using war against another country. Now, okay, so then we're all okay. Nothing is wrong. No, Paul says, not enough. There's one more thing we have to do. We have to cooperate to bring about the good things that were left undone because of our choices. The person who was in favor of abortion now has to cooperate with those who were against it. And the person who was in favor of the candidate who was for capital punishment has to cooperate with those who voted for the candidate who was against that. Because as Paul VI says, you and I, as Christians, the bonds that unite us are mightier than the things that separate us. We have to use that might now to do the good things that were left undone by this past election.
Indeed, choices will separate us, but there has to be a mutual respect to be developed. Because you see, it's so terribly important, as Father Bracken tells us, that we take care of the good things that we left undone.
And we don't want you to leave this program undone. We have everything from Advent to holiday movies, so stay here.
Although it is not mentioned in the Holy Scriptures, St. Anne was the mother of the Blessed Virgin. The yearly solemn novena was first celebrated in 1905.
A long time ago, I had an abortion. At the time, I thought it was the only answer, the only solution. Then I woke up one morning with this incredible emptiness, and I started to cry, and I couldn't stop. You see, I never really dealt with the reality of my loss. Project Rachel helped me to realize God's love for me and allowed me to find forgiveness in His church and in myself.
If you need help, call Project Rachel at 609-546-8945.
We welcome your comments and suggestions and encourage you to write to us at Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19103, or call us during regular business hours at 215-668-9842.
With Thanksgiving just a few days away, we're ready for pumpkin pie and turkey filling, huh? But if you walk into your local department store, you'd be ready to see Santa Claus coming down the chimney.
And so we're back to choices once again. And to choose what to do, how to entertain ourselves for the Christmas holidays, what are we going to do? Well, Joe Swope has some nice things to tell us in his Arts Review segment tonight about movies and entertainment we can have for this Christmas holiday season.
Thank you, Monsignor. The season between Thanksgiving and Christmas is prime time for the movies, as Hollywood rushes to cash in on the lucrative holiday season. Then, too, with the Academy Awards just a few months away, the studios hold their major releases until the end of the year, hoping to keep them fresh in the voters' minds. This year is no exception, offering something for nearly everyone in the audience. Here are just a few of the selections, either already in or coming soon to a theater near you. Any movie with Meryl Streep is usually a treat, and this year brings A Cry in the Dark, the true story of Lindy and Michael Chamberlain, an Australian couple unjustly accused of killing their child in the wilderness. The film is directed by Fred Schapisi, whose last work was the sensitive and touching Roxanne.
A forensic dentist finds no evidence of tooth marks. Does that concern you?
Well, of course it concerns me. But he doesn't know what caused the cuts, and if he can't say what happened, how can he say what didn't happen?
So you're not prepared to accept his expertise in saying that there were no teeth
I'm not
marks?
saying that. I'm saying what I'd like is a full answer, not a half answer.
Bill Murray puts a modern-day twist on Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol and Scrooged, while Mike Nichols comes in with a more sophisticated comedy, Working Girl, about a secretary determined to work her way up the corporate ladder. The film stars Melanie Griffith, Harrison Ford, and Sigourney Weaver.
No, I just meant the hair and the duds and the briefcase. What's going on?
Make fun of you.
No, you look good. Classy. What'd you have to go to traffic court or something?
Thanks to the success of An American Tail, kids have 2 animated features to choose from this Christmas. George Lucas and Steven Spielberg have gotten together to produce Don Bluth's The Land Before Time, and Walt Disney has re-entered the market with Oliver and Company.
Hey, it's an alien! Cool it, guys. It's just a cat. Mi madre, un gato!
Felis domesticus.
Now, how'd you find this place, cat?
I followed this dog.
He's lying. Shut up, Tito.
Why would a cat follow a dog?
Yeah. And finally, there's the Don Amici fan club. Amici gained a whole new generation of fans with his success in Cocoon. Now, in Things Change, he plays a shoeshine man who looks like a mafia boss wanted for murder. And speaking of Cocoon, Amici and the rest of the cast returns in an appropriately titled sequel, Cocoon 2, The Return. Monsignor and Jane, as I said, there's a lot of movies to choose from this season.
Our celebrations are always heightened when we have a complete idea of why we celebrate, and that means we have to have some prayer time involved.
And it's Choice for Prayer Time. Well, you're going to find that over 12,000 people travel to Scranton to choose time for a novena. And this really came from the heart's desire of the people. In fact, the novena is dedicated to St. Anne, the mother of God.
Numerous churches devoted to St. Anne can be found throughout Europe, America, and other parts of the world. In the United States, the Shrine of St. Anne in Scranton, Pennsylvania, draws large numbers of people who come to honor the simple values of family life. Although it is not mentioned in the Holy Scriptures, St. Anne was the mother of the Blessed Virgin. The yearly solemn novena was first celebrated in 1905. Each year, the crowds increased, but once a year was not enough for this Catholic-dominated area. In 1924, the novena services were held weekly. Even today, over 1,000 people travel to St. Anne's Monastery Church for the weekly prayer service. The solemn novena is held in July to mark St. Anne's feast day of July 26th. Over 10,000 people attend each day. Additional seating and loudspeakers are set up on the lawn to accommodate the overflow.
When you say what started it, it's a very difficult thing to say. I think ultimately it was St. Anne, but she did it through the people. For example, it was not our priest that started it. It was the people that came to us. Some of the great movements in the church really come from grassroots. They come from the people.
For the past 14 years, Father Bernard Tierney, director of the Solemn Novena, has watched his congregation grow as more and more families make the pilgrimage to Scranton. Every July, the hills of Pennsylvania ring out with the voices of thousands. It's not just the singing, but rather the echo of hearts as the people pray to their saint for her interventions.
So that I think St. Anne, in her own way, will attract people through some need in their life. But once she got them, she got them. I think that's what happens with many, many people who come here to St. Anne's.
It is by no means small coincidence that for every newcomer, there are twice as many who return year after year. Many even plan their vacations just so they can travel to Scranton and spend the 10 days in prayer.
And if you asked 100 different people why they come to the novena, you might get 100 different answers, because they'd be all putting it on a personal level.
This year, over 12,000 people a day attended the Solemn Novena, and at least 30 priests were involved in the services.
I think St. Anne herself, by her very nature, her relationship to our Blessed Lady and, of course, to our Blessed Lord, there's almost by nature the element of family there. I think that itself would be an attraction and a force that would kind of hold them together.
Over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house, that means Thanksgiving, but doesn't look like you're going to grandma's house.
No, I'm going, like the people that go into the Shrine of St. Anne, going to follow sanctity. I'm going to Rome from Blessed Catherine Tubig, Blessed Catherine Drexel's beatification. I'm very anxious, looking forward to the opportunity to go with so many to celebrate that great feast of holiness.
And we're looking forward to your return when you can bring the footage to share with all the viewers of Reel to Reel.
Sure.
We'll be back.
And we'll hold down the fort until he comes home.
We'll be toting that barge and lifting that bale, won't we, Jay?
Yeah, exactly. Just like the Eagles lineup does, especially with the defensive line. Well, next week, you're not only going to hear exclusive interviews, you're going to hear from Joe McPeak, who works for the Eagles and is also their lector for away games.
Well, far away from the idea of the Eagles and the football field, Father Tom Legere talks to us about Christian humanism.
And I don't know who's going to be here, but I'm going to have somebody else in that hot seat to give us a little insight into the church at work in the Delaware Valley.
Well, Father and I will be here, so until next week, please take care.
Goodbye, and God bless you.
See you next week on Reel to Reel.
Travel arrangements for Reel to Reel by Atkinson and Mullen Travel of Media, PA. Phone area 215-565-7070.